Hello and welcome to our bumper Euro podcast from sportsbet.io. In this podcast, we talk Bundesliga, we talk La Liga, and we talk Serie A with fantastic experts across Europe. Please do remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things you normally have to do on a YouTube video. We will start with the Bundesliga. Our good friend Taufig Khalil over in Germany. Before we get to this week, I just want to have a quick chat about last week. Because last week we saw Bayern Munich lose to Bochum, we saw Leverkusen lose to Werder. I mean, it's less surprising to see Dortmund lose to Augsburg, but even then it's still quite interesting. Eintracht Frankfurt lost, Freiburg drew, and the main winners of the weekend were Mainz.
Well, we cannot talk about last weekend without talking about this week, because it seems like everybody who was somehow engaged in the Champions League or in the European League or whatever European league you will call it, was a little preoccupied with this mind, a little away. If you take Bayer Leverkusen, it was a big mistake to throw away the last chance for the championship. If you take Bayern Munich, it was a fantastic idea to make it that way, because that was fantastic. It was funny to see when you saw the bench by Bayern Munich against Bochum. When you saw the Bayern Munich bench, you could tell the exact lineup for last night's match, because Vincent Kompany took everybody out who was playing 3 days before against Leverkusen. Only Jonas Urbik, who is now the goalkeeper instead of Manuel Neuer, he played, and Leon Goretzka. The only two, all the rest out. You saw the bench, you knew Xabi Alonso could name all the players who will play on Tuesday night, and that's how they played last night, and it worked out pretty well. The team was very fresh. That was the reason why. That shows how important this Champions League thing is to Bayern Munich. Well, it's 8 points clear of Bayer Leverkusen. The Bundesliga might not be your highest focus at that moment when you play the second leg in the Champions League. For Leverkusen, it was a chance to try something special. Well, they were 3 down after the first leg, so they needed something. They needed fresh players to play. Problem is that Wirtz got injured at that match against Werder Bremen. Terrible injury down there, so he missed last night. Leverkusen without Wirtz last night against Bayern Munich, no chance. So we're recording that on Wednesday morning. Bayern just kicked out Leverkusen. And well, you can tell Borussia Dortmund, they playing on another planet. I was lucky to comment that game, and I was really, because I like Augsburg. I like the attitude of Augsburg.
Yeah, you said
I like the defenders there at Augsburg in the center. That's guys you want to have next to you when you get on a fist fight on the Oktoberfest. If you have these players next to you, lean back and enjoy. These guys will clean it all up for you. It's fantastic. It's so much character. All these players tattooed up to the head. Strong arms, 1.90 m, tall guys. Last night I talked to a colleague and I said, you know what? Augsburg's defense reminds me a little of Atletico Madrid. Players after the match where you really know who you played against. Your whole body hurts when you play against Augsburg. And Dortmund, very, very, very no character on the pitch, no character in these days. No. It goes on and on and on. It's only talking. As you could tell from the last weeks when we talked about Niko Kovac, I'm not a Niko Kovac fan, and it stays with that.
And also, he's gone into a situation that's already very difficult. So it's a man who's maybe not equipped for it, going into a situation that's already too difficult, perhaps for people who are even equipped for it. So it was an amazing weekend to see all these sides. And like you say, there are mitigating circumstances with what's to come this week. But Mainz, that is incredible what they're doing right now. Absolutely,
Mainz is a fairy tale story.
Yeah. I mean, it's the third right now, Mainz. It's remarkable. Right, let's focus on this week anyway. I just wanted to have a quick chat about last week. Union taking on Bayern Munich. Obviously, Bayern, as we've mentioned, found it relatively simple against Bayer Leverkusen midweek. Union got a vital win against Eintracht Frankfurt in the game of the weekend as well. They really, really needed that. But off the back of the Champions League game, is this a good time to play Bayern Munich?
Definitely not, because there will be an international there will be an international break, and Vincent Kompany will not make the same thing as he did against Bochum. You will definitely not see players you have not seen last night. You'll see a lot of players now. I think the next target for Bayern Munich, they have some weeks before the next Champions League match in against Inter Milan will start. So now I think until that match, they will finish the Bundesliga. They want to do that.
Yeah.
It's make it and then only focus on the Finale da Rome, as they call it in Munich. And so I think Union Berlin will face a real serious FC Bayern Munich. And they will go there and they will beat them. I'm pretty sure, because last night I was at the banquet with the team. We journalists at Bayern Munich invites the media who travel with them to go to the banquet and then talk to the players and see and things. I could tell you the mood of the team last night was fantastic. It was Harry Kane. I've not seen him so often so happy. He scored. He did another great assist. He was once again man of the match. He played fantastic. And there's something really, everybody, especially in England, all the media, listen to my words. He can play big games.
No,
he can decide big games. Whoever doubted that, he proved them wrong. Right now, he did that. It was fantastic. In the first match, scored 2. Last night, scored 1, assisted 1. Fantastic. Now Harry Kane proved that he can play big games. Now he has to prove that he can win trophies. That's the last thing that's missing.
Well, that's probably why he's so happy, because he's so close to an actual title in the Bundesliga. I wouldn't blame him as well. I mean, I agree with you. I think sometimes my frustration with Harry Kane has been how managers have used him rather than him as a player, particularly at the England level, allowing him to drop so deep all of the time and sort of nullifying England's attack. But that's possibly a tactical managerial thing, certainly more perhaps than a Harry Kane thing. He's one of the best strikers of his generation, and that's pretty simple and pretty clear.
Well, he's the first English player who scored 10 goals in the Champions League. The first, last night. Or there's big names in English football, but Harry did that, and he really. I saw him smiling. The fans came over to him. He took them all in his arms, and he made photos with them and selfies, and he smiled and he smiled and he smiled, and it was 2:00 in the night.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good guy. He's always been known as a good guy. I mean, I covered, we'll not go too deep into this, but I covered Harry Kane's, one of his first games for Leyton Orient, which is a team low down in the UK leagues, and saw this striker who looked like he had potential but was a bit lost. And I remember sort of saying to a friend, yeah, he's fine. He'll be all right. He'll probably end up in the Championship. And again, another reason why I'm not one of a scout for a club. Leipzig take on Dortmund. Now, two teams who've just been massive disappointments this season. I was going to say for a variety of reasons, but in some cases it's actually similar reasons as well. Dortmund have Lille this evening in the Champions League. I personally think Lille have a very, very good chance in France in that game. We'll find out about that, of course. But, I mean, this match is interesting because it's also possibly boring.
Well, I don't think so. I think Dortmund will get another slap in the face this time from Leipzig. When they play away, they and I think Leipzig. There's a big rivalry between Leipzig and Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah.
Borussia Dortmund considers itself, and its fans consider themselves as the
Guardians almost.
Highest and cleanest thing in football. And Leipzig is all the bad, all the evil. It's like Star Wars. Leipzig is the Empire, and Borussia Dortmund it's Han Solo or Luke Skywalker, whatever. That's how the fans feel.
Yeah.
And for Leipzig, there's nothing more beautiful than using the Death Star of all the money and destroying the rebels of Borussia Dortmund. They like that. And I'm pretty sure that Leipzig will play their heart out against Borussia Dortmund. Oh, I'm so full of pictures this morning.
Oh, it's absolutely superb. And the metaphor works perfectly. I'm now thinking, is Jurgen Klopp Darth Vader, or is it the Emperor? And I think he's probably the Emperor in that new role.
Now for a lot of, especially from Borussia Dortmund, he was the club hero.
Yeah.
Now he turned to the dark side, and now he is. It's Lord. I would call him Lord Klopp.
So you're expecting, or at least thinking, a Leipzig win here?
Yeah, it's possible. Absolutely, because either Borussia Dortmund shows character that they are way better than everybody says, or they get another huge defeat.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an unmitigated disaster for Borussia Dortmund there so far
And
this
Leipzig
season.
needs the points even more than Borussia Dortmund, because Dortmund is far away from the European point. Leipzig is there really on the edge where you can go down or where you can stay in. For Borussia Dortmund, I think the dream is over.
Oh, completely this season. It's just get to the end of the season and start again in the summer, isn't it? We'll finish with Stuttgart against Leverkusen. Sebastian Hurst's side have hit a bit of a sticky patch of late. Obviously lost 3 in a row now by Leverkusen, although you have to factor in 2 of them against Bayern Munich, of course, as well. The more I looked at this game for this chat, the more I was semi-convinced Stuttgart had a very good chance of winning it.
Yeah, I think they have a chance of winning it, but they have their problems as well. The last 3, they didn't win. They had 2 draws against Hoffenheim and Kiel, which are not the strongest sides.
No.
And they lost to Bayern Munich. What can happen? Even Bayer Leverkusen lost to Bayern
Yeah.
twice in a week. Next week, they play Frankfurt, Stuttgart at home. Actually, very strong side. They need the points because Frankfurt next week is also a tough one in Frankfurt. Leverkusen is safe on the second. For Leverkusen, I think it's not anymore going about the Champions League. It's not anymore going about the Bundesliga. Everything that's in their mind is now, how can we save at least the German Cup?
Yeah.
And they will face Bielefeld, which is a team from the, I think, third division, as far as I know, from the third division. So they are absolutely favorites. But for that, you need to shake that Bayern Munich thing out of your clothes. You need to get rid of all the bad moods you have in these days, and then reload, refocus, restart the engine. And I think in Stuttgart, actually, they should need to win to do that. But the pressure is high and the mood is low.
Yeah, I mean, Stuttgart have got quite a few injuries, which maybe plays into Bayer Leverkusen's favour as well. Quick word on Arminia Bielefeld, by the way, 4th in the.
I give it a draw. Say 2
draw. Okay, 2. I think 2-2 would be a really good game. 4th in the third division, Arminia Bielefeld, behind Dynamo Dresden, Saarbrücken, and Energy Cottbus. So. There you go. Sides who have at times flirted with the Bundesliga's vibe, but very rarely charged towards the Bundesliga. Although Dynamo Dresden, I think, relatively recently were in the Bundesliga. Is that right?
Excuse me?
Did Dresden get into the Bundesliga in the last couple of years, or have I lost my mind?
No. It's they are far away from the second division right now.
Yeah, well, we will see. Anyway, Taufig, thank you so much. It's been a really interesting couple of weeks in Germany. It's only going to get more interesting, I think, for a number of clubs. Dortmund do seem like they're done for the season. Bayern Munich are pretty much done in Germany for the season, but plenty to play for as we head to Spain. Right, we will move on to our Spanish action with our good friend Juan Castro over in Spain. We will start with a game at La Ceramica as Villareal take on Real Madrid. Now, full disclosure, we're recording this, as we've already mentioned, on Wednesday morning, which means, of course, we have the Madrid Champions League derby still to come. We're going to have to guess around that a little bit. But I think it is quite interesting as an overall conversation because Villarreal have obviously started the season really well, Juan, drifted away a little bit, but have refound some form and of late actually have been very, very good indeed.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a quite difficult game for Real Madrid. Villarreal is recovering their best performance. Now they are in Champions League position because normally the 5th will be also in Champions League next season. Yeah. So they have to maintain this position, and at home normally they are quite reliable. So very difficult game for Real Madrid because, as you say, Real Madridistas come from this terrible battle against Atletico. So we will see.
We will see how terrible a battle it is as well. I'm really looking forward to this game. For Real Madrid, I mean, Ancelotti's comments this week were quite interesting, where he was sort of saying, am I going to be here next season? I don't know. The president will decide at some point soon. It's just feeling increasingly like everyone knows Ancelotti's almost definitely not there next season. And that's, I think, it's certainly from the outside, Juan, that feels like it's bled into Real Madrid a little bit.
Well, I think here in Madrid, at least, there is no debate about this right now. In the sense that people is not talking about that because they have so many competitions. I mean,
Mm.
Liga and Champions League in front, so people is not talking about this. Maybe if Real Madrid is disqualified against Atletico, this debate will be on the spot. But
Yeah.
so far here in Spain, people don't talk about this. But in my opinion, I think Carlo Ancelotti has very few options to maintain his position next season because there is like the life between Florentino, Real Madrid. Carlo Ancelotti is not easy in the sense that so many years already. So maybe if they don't win any title, because you have to remember that they have Champions League, La Liga, and the Clubs World Cup. So three big titles. Maybe, of course, if he doesn't win any of these titles, he won't maintain his position. But what about if he win the three titles?
Well, I mean, at the same time, you don't know if Real Madrid even still then look toward the future and a new manager. It wouldn't be the first time the club has looked towards a sexy new name, despite success, would it? One place that Real Madrid haven't been successful, though, is away from the Bernabeu at the moment. I mean, their last three away games in the league, they've lost at Espanyol, they've drawn at Osasuna, and they've obviously lost at Real Betis last time around. I mean, Real Madrid to lose, or at least to lose 2 of 3 games in La Liga full stop is rare. But the away form is really poor at the moment.
Really poor, really poor. I think they have lost so many games away, more than I think 15 seasons ago. So it's quite terrible, quite terrible results away. But it's true. I mean, I think also they have this Champions League clash, which I think is quite difficult for them to maintain both competition because they have so many injuries. I mean,
Yeah.
also we have already studied that since so many seasons ago, Real Madrid has no so many injured people. So I think it's a quite difficult season for Real Madrid in this sense. The injured players are a lot, and still they have some injuries. Even considering that Valverde will play against Atletico, Alaba is already recovered, but not 100%. So probably this is also another reason why Real Madrid is having so poor results away.
Yeah. I mean, the injury list is pretty bad. I mean, on the other side of it, for Villareal, Kiko Femenia might not be available for this game, we will find. But, of course, an aged, very experienced player, talented player as well. We'll move on to Atletico Madrid against Barcelona, the game of the weekend. Let's not mess around. Barcelona, obviously, as kind of expected, had a bit of a stroll in that second leg against Benfica. If you haven't seen Lamine Yamal's goal yet, I'd go and watch Lamine Yamal's goal in that game. It is an absolutely stunning goal. Obviously, Barcelona have had an extra day's rest as well. We've mentioned the battle we're expecting between the two Madrid sides, but also Barcelona come into this. I know they have played in Europe since, but their game having been abandoned or postponed very close to kick-off last weekend. The very sad loss of Carlos Minero Garcia, who is, of course, the club doctor, passed away very close to kick-off. It's one of those games that's quite hard to sort of drag that into, though, isn't it, really, Juan? I mean, obviously extremely emotional. Their first league game since, but they have played in the Champions League. Barcelona have got a lot going on.
Yes, probably this emotional impact was more against Benfica, but as you say, it's the first La Liga game after this personal disaster in the squad. And also you have to consider that Barcelona has played twice against Atletico this season, and they lost in La Liga in Barcelona, and they draw 4-4 in Copa del Rey in Barcelona as well. So now they have to play both games, return games in Metropolitano, and one of these will be on Sunday. Of course, depending on that, I think La Liga will go to one sense or another. It's true there's still a lot of games to go, but it will be really crucial what happens in Metropolitano because Atletico is really strong at home.
Yeah. And obviously they are incredibly strong at home. But themselves, I mean, obviously, even with their Champions League loss, They did lose at Getafe last time around. Increasingly, of the three teams, Barcelona are looking the most reliable at the moment.
Probably yes, and because I think Barcelona is having more regularity at home and away. I mean, we didn't expect this defeat of Atletico in Getafe, but considering that this game is in Madrid, is in Metropolitano, they have so many confidence there at their stadium. You have to consider that Atletico still is surviving in the three competitions, and the three are going to be defined at home. Champions League, La Liga, because of this match against Barcelona, of course, still a lot of games to go, and Copa del Rey. The three competitions, the three next competition games will be at home, and I think Cholo Simeone's side is really reliable at home in Metropolitano because they feel so many confidence, and of course they have these two marvelous players, and they are in really good shape, like Griezmann and of course Julian Alvarez.
Yeah, I mean, that would really, blow the league title chase back open again, wouldn't it? Atletico Madrid win, and all of a sudden it reopens again. I mean, it's been a great... We've seen some of the leagues right across Europe, which we talked about on this podcast, of course, really open up, more than a couple of them as well. The Premier League less so, but obviously in Spain, in Italy as well, which has been wide open, maybe less so Germany. We'll finish with Leganes against Real Betis. The reason I picked this game is Leganes obviously fighting for their lives down towards the bottom of the La Liga table. And they're taking on a Betis side who we know got that phenomenal victory against Real Madrid, played Guimarães in European competition, then, of course, beat Las Palmas. Real Betis are really flying. A lot of that good form, Juan, let's be fair here, is at home. It is at the Benito Villamarín. But Betis have really improved this second half of the season.
Yes, they have improved a lot, and because they have improved the level of some of their players, like Isco, of course, Anthony, the new sign from the Manchester United.
Yeah.
Also, they have improved the defensive system. So I think it's gonna be quite difficult for Leganes. They are not doing so well in the recent games, and only 1 point ahead the relegation point. So the relegation positions, so Leganes has to still at least to draw this game against Betis, and you have not to forget that Betis is only 3 points behind Villareal for the fifth position fight, and you have to remember that the fifth position will go to Champions League probably in the Spanish league. So really very interesting game. I agree with you. It's one of the more interesting ones in the journey in La Liga, and we will see who is winning this battle.
I suppose Betis do have to go to Portugal before this game, of course, against Vitória Guimarães. So there is obviously that to keep in mind. But in fact, they don't.
There is
do
one
they? What's my
point
top?
also. There is 1 point also. Johnny Cardoso, which is a key
the American,
player for Betis, is not playing because of suspended. So that's also a difficulty for Betis.
Yeah, and sorry, by the way, they do have Guimarães. They play Guimarães on the 13th, and they play Leganes at the weekend. I lost my man very briefly. Just quickly on Johnny Cardoso, is the expectation now Villarreal that he is going to go Betis, that he is going to go in the summer now? Obviously, heavily linked with Tottenham Hotspur and linked with a number of sort of Premier League and Liga clubs as well. Are they basically accepting that he's going to go now?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think Betis is already counting the money with Johnny Cardoso, which will be the transfer fee, but it will be really high. Nobody expected this performance of Johnny because he was not a very known player in Spain, so it was really a surprise performance for Johnny. And as I say, he won't play in Leganes, and he's a really important absence for Pellegrini.
Yeah, and he's going to be, I imagine, wrapped in cotton wool for a lot of the rest of the season. And certainly if Betis know where they are in Europe by the time that the bids start rolling on in. Juan, thank you so much as always. We will finish, as always now, with our Serie A action. Right then, we will finish with Serie A this week. Another league absolutely wide open with plenty of stories within it and an amazing couple of results over the last 7 days as well. We will start with Venezia against Napoli with our good friend Daniele Veri. Venezia are pretty difficult to beat at the moment. I mean, some good sides have taken them on and failed to beat them. Napoli, after a spell of sort of silly draws, did get themselves a very good win over Fiorentina last time around, but they still don't look 100% to me, Napoli.
Yes, but this is true. They seem not to last with their effort over the full 90 minutes of a match. But they are back in contention. They're back to fitness, in my opinion. They look much better. Against Fiorentina, they dominated the game. They could have won with a wider advantage, with a better result, but they missed several chances. So they only scored twice. And this is an issue. So they're not converting the chances that they have, and they don't last physically and maybe mentally over the full 90 minutes. Fiorentina, with one shot on goal, kept the game open until the 96 minutes, basically, because of the fact that Napoli lost meters in the pitch as the match went on. They started defending lower and lower into the pitch, and that was definitely an issue. That's a physical issue. Yeah. As I said, they seem not to last over the full length of a game, but I can't see them not winning this one, to be honest, because I mean, we said the same a couple of weeks ago when Atalanta was playing Venezia and Inter and Napoli were facing each other. This weekend we go Atalanta and Juventus facing each other, and Napoli could be the one taking advantage, of this direct confrontation. Atalanta could make it 2 weeks ago. They didn't go past a 0-0 against Venezia. Will it happen also for Napoli? Possible, but unlikely, in my opinion, because they know what's at stake, and Lukaku was the best man on the pitch, the most valuable player last weekend against Fiorentina. If they have a good Lukaku up front, we've seen that Raspadori is working well. Conte did added some creative touch in terms of tactics. They started the game with a sort of 4-2-4 formation with McTominay and Politano very out wide, and then coming from the sides and then jumping back into midfields. It was very difficult for Fiorentina for the whole game, and I enjoyed watching Napoli, and I think they have more than good chances and cards to come away with the 3 points from the Puzzo,
It might be quite tight in terms of result, though. I mean, I agree with you, although Napoli win. I mean, at the Pierluigi Penzo, I mean, Venezia have only lost by more than a goal once this season, and that was to Atalanta. So if they are going to lose here, they very rarely lose by more than a goal.
Yeah, and as we said, Napoli have their struggles in converting chances. So it could be something like you are alluding to, okay? So a narrow win or something. But again, it's difficult for me not to see them taking all of the 3 points. Basically, given the moment of the season and given the fact that basically Venezia, in my opinion, don't seem to have what is necessary to avoid relegation. No. So they've been drawing against Lazio, against Atalanta. You were alluding to those results against Como last weekend after trailing 1-0. But I mean, with draws, you don't go that far. They are 5 points adrift of a non-relegation spot, adrift of Parma. 10 games left to play, still 30 points. So there's plenty of points at stake. But now with results like 0-0, 1-1,
it's not going to keep you safe, is it?
It won't change your classification in the table.
No, well,
you have to get wins, and I mean, they've got their issues in scoring goals. They also sold their best striker during the January transfer market to Palermo, second division. Poyampalo, the Finnish striker. If that's not a proof of evidence of their, I won't say resignation, but
their position and
their
where they are, that you can lose a player like that. Yeah,
positions
to that club,
and expectations. Doesn't look nice to me.
No, I always liked Yolpo and Parlo, to be honest. Good player. We will head on to Atalanta against Inter Milan. Now, Atalanta have had a nice rest, whereas Inter Milan have not midweek. Obviously, that disappointment against Club Brugge. Since that disappointment against Club Brugge, though, they've battered Empoli, they've drawn with Venezia, albeit at home, and they hit 4 past Juve. They created Juve's worst home loss since 1967, which is a pretty incredible start. They have got themselves back into the realistic chance of winning the title again, of taking the Scudetto. They're only 3 points off Inter. They beat them here, and this is wide open yet again. This is a great game.
It's a great game, but a game that Atalanta normally never wins. So if they do this time, then the chances are there.
Good time
Atalanta
to do
lost the last 7 games. Yeah, good time to do it. If they are to win the title, because they lost the last 7 games against Inter in a row. So historically, Atalanta has it very difficult against Inter. Don't ask me why.
Not beaten them since 2018.
Exactly. So it's a game that's historically difficult for Atalanta.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason, to be honest. Could be experience, could be whatever. But
I suppose
this is a different that Atalanta.
This is a different Atalanta side now, I suppose, to the last couple of years, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I mean, Atalanta have had Gasparini on their in their dugout since for the last 9 years.
Yeah, true.
Basically,
yeah.
I mean, it's not that they are the same team now that they were 9 seasons ago, not even 4 seasons ago, probably. But I mean, they've had
won in Europe last year, I
very
suppose.
very solid, very good sides also in the past. This is not the first Atalanta. I mean, it's the first time they officially and really fight for the title, okay? With 10 games left to play. It's the first time that they spent some weeks in the first part of the season on top of the table, which is also something that never happened before in that
way.
Amount of... Yeah, exactly. So this is a side that is that knows what they're capable of. Okay, they are self-aware, so to say, of their strength, of their competitiveness, of what they had, of what they have, basically, and who they are. So yes, in that sense, I agree with you. But there could have been also. I mean, Inter were struggling at the beginning of the season. If I'm not wrong, no?
No, they were. They weren't looking right at all.
No. So they won 4-0 against Atalanta. I mean,
when they're not the best.
Whatever the reason is, I don't know. But this time, obviously, they arrive with different backgrounds and in a different state of mind. Atalanta come out of a fantastic night in Turin that no one in Bergamo will ever forget. No. Because we are not used to see, as you said, we are not used to see Juventus conceding 4 goals in general, even less at home. So, and definitely not against Atalanta. So Atalanta were exceptional against a very poor Juventus side. But we saw an Atalanta playing a good game, a very good game, versus a Juventus that played a very poor game. At least they were okay until the first penalty, that Retegui then converted. But after the penalty, there was only one side on the pitch. I mean, it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to commentate on it because I'm really looking forward to see what happens in midfield. Because Atalanta were dominating in midfield against Juventus, De Roon and Ederson. Fantastic pair, fantastic performance. And they will face Çalhanoğlu, they will face Mkhitaryan, they will face Barella, who had a well-deserved rest against Feyenoord on Wednesday night. So
It's a great
massive.
looking game.
Lautaro, same, didn't play against the Dutch side, so it'll be fair to play or relaxed and ready to take to the pitch against Atalanta. Very nice match. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Inzaghi made a couple of changes for that Feyenoord game. They weren't definitely through, and yet he still made a couple of changes, and it still worked for them. So it was, in the end, a sensible decision from the Inter manager, and it's worked out, and this is a great-looking game. So, too, is the rivalry of Fiorentina against Juventus, a rivalry not born really of politics or of kind of geography, but just these two teams hate each other. And it's really interesting.
Which happens very often in Italy.
Yeah, true. What's the phrase? Is it Campaniliero? Is that thief? Campaniliero? Thief? Which is Campanilissimo. Is that right? Am I getting
Campanilismo. Campanilismo, the campanile in Italian, let me explain, is the church tower.
Right, okay.
Is that what it's called? Church tower, no?
Yeah, maybe so. I had that down as thief, which shows both I'm an idiot and Google steered me wrong.
Yes. Yeah, maybe, because you only have culture based on Google and Wikipedia, which is not...
you forget, mate, I'm English. That's how we do it. Let's talk about the game rather than my failures.
Just to explain. No, don't worry. I'm only joking, obviously. Campanile is a church tower. And when you talk about campanilismo, you talk about your proximity to the church tower. So everyone who belongs or lives close to the church tower as a symbol of the place, love his place. So we all basically each village built around the church tower hates the next village built around their own church tower.
I see, right.
So campanilismo means everyone keeps for his own country, city, village, and is ready to fight and hates the next ones, so to say.
So I was right to use the phrase, but I was just wrong in the phrase what I thought it meant.
The phrase is right. The phrase is right. The meaning of the thing is right.
How do Juve bounce back in this game? Because, I mean, that was humiliating, that defeat to Atalanta.
It was. Yes. I mean, Juventus were... just to say one thing more about the rivalry between Fiorentina and Juventus. It's interesting because it's a very historical one in Italy. Fiorentina and Juventus hate each other. And they started, and their hate built even more and more through the years, through the fact that Juventus normally buys players off Fiorentina, players who are very important for Fiorentina, starting with Roberto Baggio, obviously, who moved from Fiorentina to Juventus in 1990, if I'm not wrong. Yes, exactly. It was 1990. It was the year of the World Cup.
Of the penalty,
and then, the penalty, not that penalty, World Cup, but...
so that was 94, wasn't it, that penalty? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it was 1990. Then Chiesa, then Vlahovic, just to name a few. There's been several very important players who moved from Fiorentina to Juventus, and every time people in Florence think, those rich bastards. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but I've said that already.
We'll get ready to
they
beat
steal our player. Those rich Juventini steal our player, blah, 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 and all that. So they basically hate each other. Okay. But Juventus, in order to go back to your question to how do they bounce back, it's difficult because they had 5 wins in a row in a league, which kept them alive. Obviously, we must admit they won against Cagliari, they won against Empoli, they won against Verona.
There was Inter in there.
Won against Inter in there, obviously, but the other 4 opponents were, let's say, bottom sides.
Beatable,
placed in the table. Beatable for Juventus, definitely. Okay, but in between, they also they were eliminated from the Champions League by PSV Eindhoven. They lost to Empoli in the Coppa Italia, flew out of the competition also through penalties after penalties. And those 5 wins kept them sort of alive and kept too loud criticism away from Thiago Motta, who's been criticized quite heavily recently for the results and for the way Juventus have played, because you don't really remember many games this year when I've enjoyed watching Juventus. Let's put it like this, in terms of entertainment.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why also Thiago Motta was chosen, obviously to give Juventus a different way of playing to what Allegri used to do the last few years. Okay, so now all of a sudden in such an important game, which would have given them a chance to fight for the title, because if you beat Atalanta, okay, you remain 6 points adrift of Inter, but then again you are equal with Atalanta, and it all feels very much different, okay, in terms of self-confidence and everything. You lose dramatically, in a dramatic fashion against them at home, 4-0. Worst loss since, you said, I don't know, 1960-something.
Yeah, in 67, And then it also opens the door, doesn't it, to Bologna and Lazio, who are starting to chase you for that fourth place as well. So it's a two-way swing, really, how bad that result was.
Exactly. The issue is exactly that, because if Juventus don't qualify to the Champions League with a fourth place, we have to assume, because we are all but sure to get a fifth place this year, due to the results in Europe, or clubs' results in Europe, then you can't hide the fact that it would be a disaster for Juventus, a terrifying series of results on all fronts, which would open the door to Motta being sacked. If he won't be sacked anyway, because
it might just not be enough anyway.
I don't want to say he's guilty of everything, or I don't know. I'm not gonna take any position. I'm just looking at what happens. Obviously, he lost a couple of important players, especially Bremer at the beginning of the season, who's an important player for their stability in the defense. But I mean, what we've seen is mainly confusion and moving players around on the pitch every week, a different starting 11. So choices even against Atalanta, they were 2-0 down, and Vlahovic came on with 15 minutes left. So what is he doing on the bench?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean,
who Bangala, some other players are not even strikers up in there. I mean, I've heard his explanation why he did that, but fair enough.
Who wins
He's
this,
the
then?
manager. He knows more. He knows football better than me, so I'm not here to say.
Knows better than me, and just slightly less than you, I'd say.
No. He knows football definitely better than me.
Who wins this?
Fiorentina lost 6 of the last 7. It's a very. It's a poor game in that sense. They've
been away from home a lot, though, haven't they? They've won 3 of the last 4 at home at the Artemio Franchi. So I'm going to squeeze with Fiorentina here. Who's your choice?
I'm going to go for a draw because Juventus will have to react at some point. Okay, because
they have to.
They have to. They have to if they want to finish the season in a decent way, at least. But is it going to happen against Fiorentina? I don't know. It's difficult because Fiorentina, even against Napoli, they didn't play well. They didn't play well at all. Napoli dominated the game basically, and Fiorentina kept it open and alive through the one shot on goal they had. So, and then they had another chance in the 94th, 95th minute. But I mean, the game should have been, Napoli should have closed the game way earlier than they did. They didn't, so it remained open. I don't know. Who's going to win this? Is a tough game to predict. Come on, let's go. If you say Fiorentina, I say Juventus because I said they have to react. Let's see if this is this game. But I don't.
It's not a strong suggestion. It's not strong at all.
I don't feel any good vibes coming out of Juventus at the moment. So by watching them playing, I don't feel the vibes. They are not there. They're not there.
Well, we've got to get a week of sort of big games in Italy. We've got the rivalries. We've got the big ties between some of the big boys. It's going to be an interesting weekend. Big thanks to Daniela and, of course, to Taufig and to Juan as well. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do all the things you're asked to do on a YouTube channel, and keep an eye out for all of the other brilliant content from sportsbet.io on the Clubhouse TV YouTube. We will see you next time. Please do make sure you gamble responsibly.